let's just get everyone standing for a second. I know you've been sitting all day, so I love to move my body as a fitness professional, so let's just reach it up. Taking a big deep breath. Maybe reach to the floor if you can. I don't know how cramped your quarters are. Reaching to the right. Oh, yeah. That amazing body moving over to the left. Maybe a couple shoulder rolls. Woo! Ready? The last one of the day. I know it's been a really long day, so thank you for staying. I really appreciate it. So my name is Charmaine Ironside, and I came to Fitness Business Summit for the first time in 2013. So my husband, I asked him if we could come on our honeymoon. That's how much I wanted to be here. And so our first ever, and he's sitting right there in the second row. Thank you, Pat. So we sat and we got inspired, and within a year, he actually quit his engineering career of 8 years and joined me in my fitness business. So I guess I want to tell you that because 4 years ago, I was making around $30,000 a year as a personal trainer. And again, not to brag, a lot of people have been telling their story. I was working, 14 hours a day, personal training, charging way too little for my services, and exhausted, overweight, unhappy, basically, and I've had to make some big changes. And within the last 12 months, we've made over $1 million between our 2 fitness studios. Thank you. But more exciting than the amount of money we've made is the freedom that we have in our life. And a big part of my vision for my life is not about the numbers, but about what we can do with our life and what our definition of success is, because it's not just financial success. Anyone resonate with that? Yeah. So a little bit about my story, and I want to be talking today about creating your vision, and not just creating it, but also how to live it. So I was 18 years old. I went to a competition to watch my little brother snowboard, and I liked to snowboard at this time, but I wasn't a competitor, and I'd never really been really great at anything in my life. And so I watched my brother compete, and something inside me said, why don't you try this, Charmaine? I was 18 at this time. So the next competition rolled around, and I decided to enter. And I came, I think, 31st out of 32nd women. I was in Edmonton, if anyone's, I'm from up in Canada. Woo, woo! Yeah, there's a lot of Canadians in here. It's awesome. So something in my mind went, this was fun. I've never been passionate about anything in my life before. I'm going to do something with the sport of snowboarding. Now, you can imagine, a lot of people, Alicia started off the weekend talking about belief. Well, I believed that I could do something with snowboarding, but nobody else believed. My family thought I was crazy. My friends thought I was crazy, but I hired a coach. Another kind of thread that's been running through the weekend is having a coach. I hired my own coach, and within 2 years, I was on the Canadian development team, and another 2 years later, I was on the Canadian national team. Everyone laughed at me at first, but once they started to see my progress, they didn't laugh anymore, and I attribute that completely to having a vision. So I ended up being a snowboard athlete for about 7 years on the Canadian national team. In 2009, I was ranked 2nd in Canada. 4 of us would go represent Canada at the Olympics in Vancouver. And I actually, unfortunately, had a very devastating crash. I landed right onto my back. I burst my T12 vertebrae, broke 2 other vertebrae, and I had an 11-hour surgery to pull all the spinal shards out of all the shards of vertebrae out of my spinal cord. My parents were told I might never walk again. And so that was the end of my snowboarding career. However, I believe what Bedros talked about earlier, having a purpose and a vision and a path, there wasn't much purpose why I was snowboarding. I just wanted to prove myself to some people. And so I realized that the universe had a bigger plan for me. I was told I'd never snowboard again, but lo and behold, I recovered. I made a full recovery. I used my goal-setting skills and vision to make that recovery, and then I turned my passion for movement and exercise, into a business. So last year I was here, and did anyone hear Nissan open up the event yesterday? Woo! Where's Nissan? I can't see him. Yay. So last year, Nissan shared this quote, and I've never stopped thinking about it since I saw it last year. The only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision. Now, Helen Keller lived in the 1920s. She was 2 years old when she became deaf and blind. And if you know a bit about the history, she ended up being a complete advocate for women's rights. She did so much for civil rights, and she just fought and fought. But she said literally she'd rather be blind, not being able to see through her eyes, but have a strong vision so that when she put her feet on the ground in the morning, she was excited for her day. And I never understood that last year when Nissan said that quote. But now I get it, because I actually started really cultivating a strong, strong, strong vision for not just my business, but for our life. So the first step in creating and living your vision is to actually dig deep and define what success means to you, not what it means to the world, because we have a pretty effed up world. Would you guys agree with that? Yeah? So what is success to you? Are you going to get to the end of your life and say, oh, I wish I had worked more? Well, in fact, there's been studies done in hospices, and the number one regret of the dying is people say, I wish I had worked less. This number two regret of the dying, I wish I had lived a life more according to my dreams instead of what everybody else expected of me. So as you sit here, what is your definition of success? For me, success is on a Tuesday afternoon, being able to go for a walk with my daughter, who's 20 months old, Kennedy, my husband, Pat. Last year we were able to go to Hawaii for 3 weeks, leave our business on autopilot. We have 2 studios. They rocked. They probably made more money while we were gone than when we were there. Going into my studio on Christmas Eve, being able to wear a red onesie and rock the sessions and sweat. And another part of success for me is being able to, I'm a foodie. I love to eat, as some of you know. So if you haven't been to Richard Walker's Pancake House in San Diego, it's about 3 blocks from here. It'll change your life. They have baked pancakes. They're about this tall. They've got, what is it, Pat? Apples. Amazing. So anyways, it took a major shift for me to get to this area of success. And just before last FBS, a few months before, I was in one of my darkest places. This is Kennedy was only a few weeks old. I decided that career was so important that I was going to go back to work 5 days after she was born. I was literally on the floor training clients 5 days after she was born. And a big part of that was because I didn't plan. As my coach Cable always says, always be hiring. Well, my little brother decided to quit a few weeks before I had my baby. So that's a bone of contention in the family, but I got pulled back into work. You can see me here breastfeeding as I type on my computer, and that is not a photo that I'm proud of. It makes me embarrassed to see that now, because I said I valued family, but I put my husband and my daughter dead freaking last in my life. Can anyone resonate with that? Yeah, putting your family last? I was overweight. I was just not living a life of vision and purpose. So what I want to ask you right now is, how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel when you wake up in the morning? How do you want to feel when you're driving to work? How do you want to feel when you open the doors to your studio? Do you want to feel exhausted and sad and depressed and angry and resentful of your clients? Or do you want to feel abundant, inspiring, present with people, fulfilled, excited? So what I did was I decided to get really clear on my core values. There's a great book by Danielle Laporte, and it's called The Desire Map. And it's, instead of setting goals, figure out how you want to feel, and then set your goals based on that. Because a bigger house is not going to make me feel necessarily abundant. It might actually make me feel financially scarcity. So, don't let your definition of success be what everyone else thinks success is. For me, it's abundance of not just money, but time and energy. For me, it's being inspiring. What does that look like? It means I'm on Facebook Live every day, inspiring my clients. What does that mean? I asked Bedros if I could speak here. In 2013, I said to my husband, I wonder if I could ever be up there on stage speaking. And he believes in me more than I believed in myself. And a year ago, I said to Bedros, what would it take for me to be up on that stage? And you know what he said? He said, you just keep doing what you're doing, and if you're ready, I will ask you. And so I just kept working on myself and kept working on my business to a point where I was someone that maybe some people consider inspiring. Presence. So I want to feel present with my husband. I want to feel present with my clients. I want to feel present with Kennedy, my daughter. I don't want to be typing emails while I'm breastfeeding. I want to be able to have really allotted time. This is Kennedy's time. This is Pat's time. This is work time. And I don't need to cross all of those boundaries anymore. Fulfilled, when people ask me to do something now, those are my barometers. I say, is it going to make me feel abundant, inspired, present, fulfilled, or excited? And if that's a no, then it's a no. And I used to say yes to everything. But what I realized was by saying yes to everything, I was saying no to what I truly needed and wanted in my life. Does anyone resonate with that? Any yes people in the crowd? So no is a complete sentence. My mom used to say that, and I hated it, but it's true. So the next step to creating and living your vision is believing in yourself. Everyone's been talking about that. Everyone that's sitting out there, you've got to believe in yourself, because if not, none of the information you learned, learning how to create better systems, learning how to write more emails, learning how to do all these marketing tactics, you're not going to do it. You're going to go home and you're going to do nothing unless you decide that you're somebody that deserves more money and deserves more clients and deserves more success. So self-sabotage is when we say we want something and then go about making sure it doesn't happen. And I was the biggest self-sabotager for so long. I'd be rocking it with my fitness, my nutrition, and then I would decide to have a bender weekend and drink a bunch of wine. I had a public speaking event a few months ago, and I got drunk the night before, and I presented like shit. So that was self-sabotage at its best, because I didn't believe I deserved to be on that stage, so I made sure that I had an excuse. That's why I didn't rock it, because I was hungover. So can anyone resonate with self-sabotage? Yeah? Thank you. It's very common, and the way you stop doing it is you decide that you deserve a higher level of success, and you have to teach that subconscious mind that you're actually deserving of it. So I'm going to tell you a few of my positivity rituals that help me develop more confidence in myself so I don't keep sabotaging my success. I've had so many injuries in snowboarding, and a big part of it, I broke my arm, I tore my knee, I broke my back, and all of those injuries, I can literally tell you, it was because I didn't believe I deserved to be up there against those competitors. I would say things to myself like, oh, you started so late, why are you even here? And I was so critical of myself. So I believe every injury that I had was also an act of self-sabotage in a way. So step 3 is creating a solid start to your day. And this is really going to be a crossover with what Craig presented, because Craig taught me everything I know about this. And I was up here last year at FBS, and I came to the mic after Craig presented about the perfect day formula, and I said to Craig, I've got this 8-month-old at home, and it's not possible to have this perfect morning routine, so what can I do? Excuses, excuses, excuses. Craig was very kind, and he just said, do your best. Implement some kind of a routine, and if it gets messed up, who cares? Do your best the next day. At least you're trying something. And I went home, and I took his words to heart, and I made my wake-up time quite a bit significantly earlier, 2 hours earlier than it used to be. Some other morning routines that I really recommend is saying 3 things you're grateful for before your feet even hit the floor. Gratitude is so powerful. What you think about expands. If you think about what you're grateful for, you're going to keep getting more of it. Not to mention, if you're not feeling that excited about your day, it's just going to set you on a better path. Getting up at the same time is researched and proven to give you exponentially more energy. Bedros talks about that. Make your bed. If you can't take care of your bed, how are you going to take care of your home and your family and your life? It's such a small thing, but how you do one thing is how you do everything. And whether you believe that or not, there is some truth to that. Meditation, I'm a huge advocate for that. It just for me is sitting for 5 minutes. Some people it's praying, some people it's reading the Bible. Whatever your form of meditation, so maybe it's your drive to work, but something that's getting you inside of your body and inside of yourself and ready for your day. If the first thing you do is you pick up your phone and you start scrolling through social media and you start looking at your emails and all the demands that you have, your day is gone. It's not yours anymore. It's everybody else's day. So make it your perfect day. Proclaim your vision. My vision is to help millions of women overcome emotional eating while making millions of dollars and having a ton of fun at the same time. And I proclaim that every single morning with feeling, with intention. Personal development, we've been talking about that all weekend. Make sure you make some time for it. That's how I like to fill my mind in the morning, whether it's reading audiobooks, whether it's watching YouTube videos of Tony Robbins or other inspiring people. and then your one thing, which Craig talked about this morning. What's that one thing that you need to do today that's going to propel your business forward? For me, sometimes it's just making a really stellar Facebook Live video with an offer at the end. Sometimes it's I'm going to run a really awesome clinic for my coaches so that they can train more like I train, so I don't have to be there. You know, whatever your one thing is, and then everything else that happens that day is gravy and is a success. So the perfect day formula, you know, you've heard about it this morning from Craig, but it changed my life. It's all about setting your life up for success, having rituals, having routines. If you haven't read it, it's definitely a must-read in the personal development library. The next thing is to be willing to do things others won't. And I just want to read a quote. I read it a few weeks ago. It was an ESPN awards show, and Kobe Bryant said this exact quote: "We're not on this stage because of talent or ability. We're here because of 4 a.m. We're here because of 2-a-days or 5-a-days. We're up here because we had a dream, and let nothing stand in our way. If anything tried to stop us, we used it to make us stronger." So I just love that quote, and you know, he was the one throwing an extra 100 baskets after games and stuff like that. He just went above and beyond. So excuses are incompatible with results. I love that quote. I say that to my clients a lot when I start to hear, oh, you know, my daughter's sick, or oh, you know, it's so busy on the roads. I don't have time for that. So get rid of the excuses and the results will start to come. So the next step is to cultivate more positivity. Positive energy is 1,000 times more powerful than negative energy. So Napoleon Hill, another book, the #1 success book in the world, Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill says, whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. Thoughts are things, and powerful things at that. So I love the idea that thoughts are things. What are you filling your mind with? What are your thoughts like? The average North American adult's thoughts are 80% negative. So if you want to have a different life than the average North American, you're going to have to work at it. It's a daily practice. Even people like Tony Robbins say, if I don't do my positivity practices, my mindset starts to go to the gutter. So it's not something that just happens. You have to work on it. And these are the ways that I work on my positivity. First thing is to talk to myself. I talk to myself like I would my best friend or my daughter or someone I really care about. So my clients will come into the studio and say, oh, look at these disgusting bat wings, look at this Menno muffin, look at my awful thighs. And the first thing I say to them is, would you ever say that to your best friend? And of course they say no. And I say, well, why don't you start talking to your body a little bit nicer? Why don't you start treating yourself a little bit more dignity? And that really lands for people. Another thing is the cancel technique. It's actually proven if you have a negative thought about yourself. For example, for me, I used to just agonize over the size of my thighs, and I would say, oh, Charmaine, you look disgusting. You should just wear black because everything else makes your legs look fat. But I used the cancel technique, and I've been using it for 2 years, and those thoughts don't come anymore. I say, cancel, cancel, cancel. Charmaine, your legs look strong. They can do a lot of amazing things for you. Now shut up and get out there. So it really is important to reframe the negativity because you are your own worst enemy. Your mind is supposed to be your servant. Your mind is not supposed to run your life. So you really have to train your mind to do what you want it to do. And the last thing is positive affirmations everywhere. Pat can attest to this. You know, I've got up on my bathroom mirror, I've got up in my office what I'm working on, my goals, my affirmations. I've got an app on my phone. It's called AIDA Reminder, A-I-D-A. And every couple hours I get an affirmation. My one for this week was, I bring fire and energy to my speech at FBS. So whatever you think about is going to expand in your life. A negativity detox. If you want to have an amazing life, you have to choose what you're going to fill your mind with because we only have 24 hours in a day. So what do you want to focus on? I went online and I looked up LA Times News a few days ago, and this was the article that popped up. How an off-duty cop telling teens to stay out of his yard escalated to gunfire, protests, and outrage. How is that going to help you? How is knowing every detail about the negativity in the world going to help you? In fact, if you decide to do a news detox, you're still going to hear the news from your clients, from everyone around you. So what I did a couple years ago is I stopped reading the news, and I started filling my mind with positive things. I love Tony Robbins. I love this quote: whatever you hold in your mind on a consistent basis is exactly what you will experience in your life. And so instead of spending 20 minutes scrolling through the news, I spend 20 minutes watching personal development, and that has absolutely changed my life. Another thing to really bring your life to the next level in terms of positivity is surround yourself with those who lift you higher. So, you probably heard the crabs in a bucket story that Bedros has told. You need to fill your life with people that lift you higher instead of people that pull you down. And I've had to make some tough decisions in the last few years because I did have those kind of people that said, you're never going to make it. Charmaine, don't open a fitness studio. There's so much competition. Why don't you just stay where you are? Keep renting space in that gym. I had friends that made fun of me for trying to be a competitive snowboarder, and then when I was on the Olympic team, they didn't really have much to say. So surround yourself with people that believe in you. In this photo, Nissan Trotter, I just love this guy. My first FBS, he was running the Fit Body Boot Camp sessions, and I remember he jumped about this high, and I was this overweight, kind of sluggish trainer, and I'll never forget that day. So people that inspire you, Trevor, Manny, Stacy, people in the mastermind. I want to hang around with those kind of people that are doing great things in their business. And of course, Bedros. I would spend a lot of money just to be around this guy because what I've seen him do in the 4 years I've known him is insane. And it's not just FBS, it's every aspect of his life. And if you knew about how much he has going on, it's unbelievable. But I want to be more like him. So who am I going to hang around with? I'm going to try to hang around with him as much as possible. So to cultivate more positivity, and just think about that today. Who's in your life? I know there's a young man that mentioned, what if people aren't on the same page with what I'm up to? And I don't know if Steve Weatherford, kind of said, just own who you are. And I believe in that too. But yeah, you might have to make some tough decisions, make some, friend breakups. It doesn't mean you have to text them, say, you are not lifting me up. We're not friends anymore. But maybe it just means that you don't hang out as often, and that's okay. And you deserve to be around people that lift you up. So the next thing I love to do with my clients that complain a lot is I say, well, what's not wrong in your life? Yes, it's raining, and it's wet outside. That does not mean it has to be a crappy day. So what's not wrong? Did your car start this morning? Are your legs moving? As someone who is almost paralyzed, I can pull that card out once in a while on my clients. But what's not wrong? So think about that. So I love this quote about entrepreneurship. Because sometimes, has anyone ever felt kind of complaining? I've got to work all the time. I can never leave work at work. Has anyone ever had that complaint? Yeah, be honest. I have had it myself. My friends that work 9-to-5 jobs, I'm like, dang, it would be so nice to be a teacher, and you could just, teachers probably bring work home. Anyways, but sometimes I start to wish that, think the grass is greener, but then I remind myself and I read this quote: entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life like most people won't, so that you can spend the rest of your life like most people can't. And heck yeah, can I get a woo-woo? So, this started to feel kind of real for Patrick and I when we were in Hawaii last year for 3 weeks. And most of our friends were complaining about the airfare, and it was so expensive because they had to go on these certain days. And we're like, well, we're going to spend 2 weeks in Kauai, and then we'll meet you guys for the wedding in Maui. And, most people don't get to just go on all these trips. So we travel probably 2 or 3 months of the year. We come to all of the masterminds we're part of. I'm part of both of. I'm part of an information mastermind with Bedros and Craig, and I'm also part of the 7-figure. And we bring Kennedy with us. She's upstairs. We have a hotel babysitter. But we've been able to design a life where this is possible, and it's because we're entrepreneurs, and we're not working for the man. You. So the next step is to do less. Now, everybody is overwhelmed. Anyone feeling a little overwhelmed after this weekend? Yeah? Yeah. So one of my favorite books, and Joe talked about the 4-hour body, but one of my favorite books is the 4-hour work week. And in that book, Tim Ferriss says, being overwhelmed is often as unproductive as doing nothing, and it's far more unpleasant. Yeah? Doesn't it suck to feel that way? Your heart's beating fast, your shoulders are at your ears, you've got too much going on. So when you're starting to feel overwhelmed, you got to make some decisions. And the first thing I recommend doing is realize less is more. You don't need to take all the information from this weekend and try to do it all on Monday. Pick 2 or 3 things that are going to propel your business forward, and everything else goes on the back burner. I have things scheduled for August. Like literally my to-do list is that far ahead because I know it's not reasonable to do everything this month or even next month. Realize you can have it all, but just not all right now. And one of my mentors said that to me because I was feeling overwhelmed. I wanted to do all these things. I wanted to have all these things. And she said, Charmaine, you can have it all, but not all right now. So figure out what your priorities are. And let your vision decide your priorities. If you don't have a vision for your life, that is step 1. And Craig helped us out with that yesterday with those worksheets. But what do you want in your life? How do you want to feel? Do you want to feel excited? Do you want to feel happy? Do you want to feel joyful? Or do you want to feel overwhelmed, depressed, and sad? I want to feel the former. And delegate. Bedros talks about his 5%. Sometimes I tell Pat, dishes are not in my 5%. But you've got to delegate, right? I mean, you can't do it all. And Shanda talked about having a virtual assistant. I'm in the process of hiring one right now, but man, there's so many people happy to work for you, so delegate. I used to trade. People would clean the studio to train with me, stuff like that. I'm like, I don't want to scrub toilets anymore. So even if you can't afford it right now, figure out some trades. Maybe it's bookkeeping, things like that. I hate bookkeeping. Anyone else? Yeah, it's the worst. So get support and shorten your learning curve is the 7th step. And I only have 8 steps, so I'm rounding down. So why do we as athletes, I was on the Canadian national team, we had a coach that pushed us forward. Why do we think that we can do it all on our own? I've wasted so much time not having a coach and trying to figure things out on my own, but there's too much information to wade through. And that's why I respect Bedros so much, because he does all of that curating of the information so that he only feeds us the most impactful stuff. Because I don't like learning about social media. I actually hate it. So I love just knowing what the most impactful things are so I can shorten my learning curve. Masterminds, whatever that looks like for you. A mastermind is just a group of people that have a like-minded, that are like-minded and have similar goals. So, join one or create your own, but you have to be around people that are doing what you want to do. Otherwise, you're going to have a long learning curve. The last thing, if you can't afford a mastermind, personal development books can be your coach for a little while. Watch those videos. So my last step and my favorite step is realize that the journey needs to match the destination. So Bedros talked about this today. I feel like I'm just stealing everyone else's presentation, but they all kind of came together. So whether it's with your business or your health or whatever it is, if you think that you're just going to make all this money and just kind of put your life on hold, but just make all this money, and then as soon as you make this money, that your life is going to look perfect and happy, you're very wrong. You're going to have a very broken life. So make sure the journey towards whatever your vision is, whatever your goal is, matches how you want to feel at the end. Now, this was a big learning for me in terms of my weight loss journey. I guess you guys saw that photo of me. I was about 186 pounds. A year and a half ago, I guess. And I've been between 125 and 200 pounds, yo-yoed so many times in my life, I couldn't even count. I've gained and lost hundreds of pounds. And every time, what I realized was I was trying to lose weight because I hated myself and I hated my body. But once I started to realize that I want to feel excited and happy and joyful once I lose the weight, I started to approach my weight loss journey from a more loving approach. I'm going to eat clean because I love myself and I deserve to feel good, instead of going to eat clean because I want to lose pounds so I can stand on stage. I've done fitness competitions, and I felt awful about myself after because I knew I was so afraid, and I was right. I ballooned back up afterwards. So if you're trying to lose weight, you've heard your body is your business card in the fitness world, and it's so true. Our business does a lot better when I'm up, speaking to people looking the part of a fitness business owner instead of being embarrassed and feeling out of integrity with what my career is. But it wasn't helpful to feel like I was too fat to be a trainer. It wasn't helpful to have my mentor tell me your body is your business card 100 times. It wasn't helpful to have my doctor say you're gaining too much weight in your pregnancy. I'm the kind of person, if you tell me to do something, I'm going to do the opposite for a while because I'm really stubborn. So I had to find my internal motivation. I had to realize that I deserve to feel good. I deserve to look good. I deserve to be a good example for my daughter and my husband and my clients. I want to be inspiring. It's not inspiring when your trainer, what was that? What was it called? Steve? Dick do. Okay. It's not inspiring when your trainer has that, but realize that the journey needs to match the destination, whether it's weight loss, career, whatever. It has to be fun. Life is supposed to be fun. Woo! Thank you. Yeah. So what steps are you going to take to create and live your vision? First, I want you to dig deep. Sit down with Craig's worksheet. Go to one of his workshops. Figure out what success is to you. Believe in yourself. Create a solid routine for your day, because if you start your day in chaos and overwhelm and on everyone else's agenda, that's how it's going to end. And you're going to be frustrated at the end of every single day. Be willing to do things others won't. Cultivate more positivity. You have to work on it. Do less and accomplish more. Get support. Join a mastermind. Seriously, we would have done nothing with our businesses, and I would not be a personal trainer today if it wasn't for that man right there. Woo, woo! Yeah. And realize the journey has to match the destination. Just like Bedros was saying, the work, right, Bedros? Enjoy the work. Fall in love with the work. Thank you. So you deserve whatever your heart desires. You can do anything you put your mind to. I had to work on my self-belief. You need to work on your self-belief, and then you won't keep sabotaging yourself, and you will do more in a year than you could have ever dreamed. So thank you for listening. Woo, woo.